Hey everyone, with the impending warmer weather, you're probably searching for an escape. Well, one of those places I ventured to last year was Santorini. In today's video, I'll be going over my top tips about Santorini and my personal experience there. Make sure to check out my Instagram and don't forget to subscribe. So first I wanted to talk about the best time to go. Like most islands, people tend to flock to the sunny escapes starting from spring to the end of summer. Unfortunately, that means lots of crowds, and for small islands like Santorini, you'll be packed in like sardines. I went in 2022 with my mom and did a tremendous amount of research prior to my departure date. As much as I love warm weather, I really didn't want to deal with the sheer volume of people who would be on the island. I watched a lot of videos from my fellow YouTubers and I read numerous blogs. I monitored ticket prices like a hawk because those prices fluctuate pretty frequently, and once summer travel starts picking up and people start booking their flights, it really does change depending on how full or empty the flight is. My mom and I wanted to fly business class, so it's all about playing with the numbers. I had to navigate departure airport, the time, the date, same with arrivals, as well as the layover airport, because every little bit matters. If you change your departure airport or arrival airport, it really could make a difference in a few $100s. For those of you who haven't watched my Santorini vlogs, there are two, and I will link them here as well as below in the description. My mom and I went in October, and it turned out to be a birthday vacation for both of us. One thing to note in October is that it is extremely windy. When you're on Instagram and you see posts about Santorini, everyone's wearing their big flowy maxis as well as hats. And I was there, the winds reached 25 miles per hour. When we left, it wasn't windy, but throughout our stay, we did experience some windless hours. Fear of my hat flying into the Aegean Sea was real. That's not to bash on the wind. The wind made for some incredible pictures. Temperature wise, it does get pretty cold. When we landed, it was, I'd say, about 4 p.m. as the sun set and it was out of sight, no longer visible, and darkness began to settle onto the horizon. You could feel the crisp breeze and it picked up extremely fast. I didn't bring a puffer. I brought jackets. It was a lightweight jacket, but people brought puffers and it was probably a really good idea. I even saw people with beanies. You're going about at night and you want to see more of the island and the lights and what the white buildings and blue dome churches look like, I would suggest bundling up, especially in October, because it is really cold. Onwards to what to pack and travel essentials. I made a separate video on travel essentials, which I'll link here. I'll just go through it very briefly. Number one, I cannot live without a power bank when I'm traveling, especially overseas. You don't want to be in the situation where you're using your phone for Google Maps trying to find that Instagram worthy location, and once you get there, you run out of juice. I mean, that would be extremely tragic. You wouldn't have pictures, and if you don't have a DSLR and your phone is your only mode for capturing videos and pictures, then that would be the end. So a power bank is a great investment. I have a pretty chunky one, but I do plan on investing in a slimmer version just so it's more portable and lightweight. When you're buying a power bank, make sure it complies with airlines because there is a limit to how much you can bring on board. You want to go over that limit or they might confiscate it, and you don't want that to happen, especially if you're on vacation. Number two is a travel adapter. So when I went overseas to Europe, most of my hotels had it and they provided it for guests. They loaned it out and you could return it at the end of your stay. But you really don't want to leave that to chance. What if they didn't have it? Just went off of Amazon. It's really reliable. The fuse has not popped. Number three is a daily tote bag. I also had a crossbody bag or just my own personal bag where I carried my important items, credit cards and such, but for other big bulky items, I always carried a tote bag, and I did this all across Europe because it was convenient and it's safe because I had a zipper. It allows you to explore the city in your own comfort without having to travel back and forth to your hotel. I won't belabor this section, but I would also bring swimsuits. I basically spent my entire time in Santorini floating in a jacuzzi or a pool. So that's definitely a necessity. I was fortunate enough to have a villa with my own private pool as well as a suite, and it had 2 jacuzzis. Even if you opt for a shared pool, I would still take advantage of it. It's beautiful and makes for epic shots. Also, don't forget medication and first aid kits. They do have pharmacies and they're scattered all across Santorini, but you want something you're familiar with. Maybe the brand they offer isn't the same as what you're used to. Maybe they don't have some of the first aid necessities or ointments you need, so just be prepared. Last but not least, don't forget your sunblock, moisturizer, and lip balm. The wind really dried out my skin and I felt like I needed to moisturize both my face and my lips pretty often. And for sunblock, it's very sunny. The white buildings flexed. The sunlight only got 10 shades darker. I was really tan. What to leave at home? It's not a very extensive list, but some things I would say you could leave at home is makeup and hairspray. I brought so much and realized that I didn't really wear any makeup and I didn't use any hairspray because I either tied up my hair or had a hat on. The products I had on my face were moisturizers, sunblock, and lip balm. So that's really all you need. I know it goes without saying, but there are so many people wearing heels all around Santorini, and it's not for those floating dress pictures, but they were actually walking around in heels. Leave them at home. You don't want to sprain your ankle or even break it. Wear sandals and sneakers or even flats. They're the best way to get around the whole town. Now, how to get there. I've never been to such a quiet airport until I got to the one in Santorini. Here's how I got there. I left from LAX, had a layover in Boston, and then again at London Heathrow, and then I ended up in Santorini. On the way back, I went from Santorini to London Heathrow, JFK, and then John Wayne Airport. Now, I know that sounds like a lot of layovers, but that was the one flight that had the least amount of layovers in the least amount of time. I did leave ample time at London Heathrow. If you guys recall, there was that whole baggage fiasco in Heathrow during the pandemic, and to avoid all that, I made sure I had at least 3 hours at Heathrow so I could go from Terminal 3 to 5 and vice versa. Because I had business, it was a fast process through customs, but in case anything happened, I wanted enough time so I could transfer. Now, I've seen other people do this where they take a flight into Athens, and from Athens, they either take a smaller flight to Santorini or they take a ferry. I've heard interesting stories about the smaller flight. So with that smaller flight, it is pretty turbulent because it's smaller and then there's propellers on both sides. It's a cheaper option, but it is pretty bumpy. As for the ferry, it is the cheapest option. However, I believe it takes approximately 4 to 5 times longer to get to your destination. Along with that, with the ferry, when you get to the port, you have to either trek up the steps to the actual main island, wait for a taxi, and that could take forever because a lot of people are getting off at the same time. And if they didn't arrange with the concierge of their hotel to have them picked up, you're fighting with a bunch of people for a taxi. Even if you have a car waiting for you, navigating that and trying to beat traffic is probably going to take quite some time. What happens when you get to Santorini, in my experience, is I caught a flight on British Airways from London Heathrow to Santorini. Once you're there, everyone in the plane deboards onto the tarmac, down some steps. Walked down the steps and were smacked immediately with 25-mile-per-hour winds. So our hair was flying everywhere and carrying on our carry-on suitcase down these steps and onto the tarmac and then into customs inside the airport. Once we were there, it was quiet. You could hear crickets. Literally everyone was whispering if they were even speaking. It was just a strange experience. I've never been in such a quiet environment. Even at the library, you can still hear people talking, but this was just next level. So once you go through customs, then there's a conveyor belt. You pick up your luggage, and I had my personal driver wait for me outside. I arranged it with my first villa and they picked us up. It's a big van. He loaded up all of our suitcases and drove us to the villa. Looking on a map, it doesn't look quite as far, but with the winding roads, the one-way traffic, and people actually viciously cutting off each other, I would never drive a moped or ATV there because it looks very dangerous. Once we got there, it was breathtaking. And don't forget to watch my Santorini vlogs, which I'll link below. So a lot of these villas bifurcate off the main road and it's pretty bumpy and they're not really labeled. So you're going up and down these narrow paths with pedestrians on both sides, just trying to find where you're supposed to be. If your driver looks lost, they may not know the location as well per se, so they'll have their phone, they can navigate that way, and you can pop out your phone as well. Seeing a map of Santorini online, you'll see just how small it is. You can go from the top of the island from the north to the south in probably 2 hours if you're driving. First time in Santorini is easy to navigate. Speaking of navigation and transportation, there are multiple modes of transportation. You can go by foot, you can rent an ATV, a car, a moped, or private transportation by your own driver. I went with the latter and it does add up. It's only 40 euros each way. So from Imerovigli to Ia, it was 40 euros. A tip isn't required, but if they go above and beyond, talk to you, super nice, courteous, I would tip them. I had the hotel concierge help me set up transportation. So they arranged for my pickup, drop off. And one thing I will say is before going anywhere in Europe, I would download WhatsApp. Say your driver drops you off and 5 hours later you're done and you want to be picked up. Best way to contact them is by texting them on WhatsApp. And same goes for delivery. There's a lot of food delivery services. You can text them that way what you want, and they can text you menus and pictures. Okay. Now the map of Santorini. So as I mentioned earlier, it is a very small island. I knew that there were certain cities and places I wanted to venture to, and if I was able to see more, I would be delightfully surprised. I have this map of Santorini. This northern area, you have Ia, and this is where all the Instagram-worthy pictures are taken. Well, most of them. And okay, so when I travel, I like creating itineraries, write down everything I want to see. So in Ia, you can see the church bells. So this is across the Love Me Santorini store, a Spaki exclusive suites, the view of Santorini, and I'll put pictures here so you know what I'm referring to. I have the Three Domes Scenic Point. That's where everyone lines up for pictures. Even if you go early, there's always a tour group there, and you'll probably be waiting in line for at least 15 minutes, and I've heard some people line up for 3 hours. So it really depends. You also have Atlantis Books. I wanted to go here. Unfortunately, it was closed when I was there. I don't know if it was closed for the day or because I went a little too early. However, I was able to capture some pictures outside. You also have Castro Ia houses. So this is, you know, the sisterhood of the traveling pants. It was repainted in orange. When I was there, no one was really focused in the Castro Ia houses. They're more focused on Ia Castle. That's the notorious spot where everyone lines up and hangs off the ledge to watch the sunset. So I was able to capture videos and pictures in front, on the side, on the steps of Castro Ia houses without any obstruction because really no one was focused on it, and I was really surprised. That's one of the points. And then of course, as I mentioned, Ia Castle. I didn't stay for sunset because I didn't want to be stuck in that mess, but I did venture up and capture a 360 view of what I could see there. Here is Imerovigli. So I stayed in 2 different locations. So in the first location, I stayed more on the eastern side of Imerovigli, and it was at Mardanza Exclusive. And the second location, I stayed on the western side of things, so I could see the caldera, the white buildings, the blue domes, and that was at Olivia Suites. Both places were amazing, and I'm the type of person who likes to explore, adventure, and try new things, but honestly, when I go to Santorini again, there's a 95 to 98% chance that I'll probably stay in the same villa and suite. Mardanza, was peaceful. You couldn't hear people or cars. It was just so serene and great for meditation, great for seeing the sunrise. You could see it come up from the horizon each morning. It's still close to everything. You could walk, you could drive, but the staff, the hospitality, the food went above and beyond. Now, for Olivia Suites, I stayed in a suite with 3 stories and I had 2 jacuzzis. Even though there was more foot traffic, it was still private. Most of the traffic I had was from tour groups because people who are venturing off on their own, I don't believe they would know about that location. There were some photographers taking the flying dress pictures. So from my suite, it was maybe like 20 steps at most to the Mother of Lord Episcopi Holy Orthodox Church. And that's a church with the blue dome. It has a white cross, and you also have the bougainvillea tree. So it's the pink flower tree in Santorini that makes it pop from the blue and white background. It was just a few steps away. You may be wondering why, if there's a famous photo Instagram worthy attraction, why there are people, but there are two separate entrances. There's one way where people go in front of the villas, but there's an additional way, and everyone goes this way. It's through a very steep staircase. My mom and I, we were following Google Maps. We accidentally ventured there, curved in and out, so many people. It was a bad first glimpse of Imerovigli. Afterwards, we found our way back and realized that there was an easier path, and to avoid all the tourists, and we were tourists too, but avoid all that foot traffic, we could go the alternate route. Then the last place I really went to was Fira, and that is the capital of Santorini. It's somewhat in the middle of the island. So this is where all the food, everything is. It's so lively, and there's a club there too. We went in the morning, so it was relatively empty, but I can see how crowded it would get if it were the peak of summer. Going into Santorini will probably put a dent in your bank account. There are ways to make it budget friendly. I've seen so many videos of people staying at hostels or just far away on the other side of the island. You don't really get that caldera view, and you're not really among all the other villas and restaurants. You have to probably rent a car or use transportation and taxi to get into the main city. That makes it more cost friendly for anyone looking for those options. But how many times do you actually get to go to Santorini? I wanted to indulge. I really think I did with the plane tickets. Stayed in a villa and a 3-story suite. Probably guess the prices for that wasn't really budget friendly. Ate out every day and had room service. If I could do it again, would I change anything? Probably not. I love Mediterranean food, and it's really healthy. So health benefits. How long to stay? The trip in total was 10 days. We were counting for travel. When I tell people I was in Santorini for 7 days, and only in Santorini, I didn't venture off to Mykonos, they say that it's a little way too long, and I certainly agree. If you're looking to just snap pictures in those Instagram worthy spots, drink the local wine, try the olives, eat the food, I would say 3 to 5 days is enough, but I wanted to take time to detach myself from reality and honestly float in the pool. I really enjoyed it. Except for language. Everyone I met in Santorini spoke English. You don't have to know Greek. English is a common language, basically a second language in that country. Everyone at the hotel I dealt with could speak English. Everyone at the stores or restaurants, they all knew how to communicate with me. Now, currency. And this goes for most European countries, but cash is king. Currency in Santorini is euros. Now, I found that most places did accept credit cards. Even if it was a small market on the side of the road, just if you wanted to buy water, they would accept credit. However, I did pull out approximately 400 euros, and that was for transportation. For transportation, I believe they accept credit card. I never really tried. I just always gave cash. It was easier that way, especially with tipping. As I mentioned earlier, tipping isn't necessary, but it's a really nice gesture, and it shows that you care. And especially a pandemic that just occurred in Santorini, they didn't have any foot traffic, so just doing what you can to help. Now, what to do? Seriously, so much you can do in Santorini. Whether you're into the historical aspect of the island, you're into wine tasting, trying Mediterranean cuisine, going to the Instagram worthy locations, going to the clubs, or just relaxing. It's all there for you. I was there for the food and to relax. If you want more information about that, I can definitely tell you more. Mediterranean food is my favorite type of cuisine. I eat a Greek salad every single day. There's something different about the olives, the capers, the bay leaves, and the feta cheese. Olive oil is much more pure in the actual country where it's from. I've had olive oil in the States, and it's made in Greece, but it just tastes more authentic when you're actually there. There's 2 spots I definitely would recommend. The first spot is just if you're on the go and you want something to munch on real quick, it's cheap, it's delicious, and it's called Let's Eat. So they have, I believe it's pronounced gyros. They have gyros, they have pita, they have kebabs. I always got the chicken kebab. I got the Greek salad there too. Second place is a dessert spot. It's in Imerovigli. In walking distance of my suite, I got out, made a left, made another left, went up the road, past the little liquor mini mart, up the, it's a kind of a sketchy road, but it's called Confetti Desserts. It's impeccably made. They're so cute. They come in a variety of colors, variety of flavors. It's like a mousse, and they have chunks of fruit in it, and there's sponge cake in some of them. There's peanuts in others. I probably tried almost everything that appealed to me. I ate there every day. I never got one cake. It was always 2 cakes or more. I'm surprised they don't have cavities. It's about €7 a cake, but it was well worth it. If you don't want to splurge every day like I did, at least try one. Go into the store, ask them what they would recommend, or just read the names of the desserts. I really hope this video helped you get a better idea of what to expect in Santorini, how to prepare, how long to stay, the cost, what to do, and just various other aspects you may not have thought of. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to leave them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to answer them. Thank you so much for watching, and please don't forget to subscribe. Until next time.